March 17th, 2026. Well, as the war continues with Iran, I hate to say it, I think things are not going so well, really. And insofar as the basic air war campaign, I think it's been quite successful in that sense. But the problem is, and what was always the reason that everybody over the years had just thought about it and decided not to do it, is precisely what's happening now. And that is that the Straits of Hormuz are closed, but ironically, asymmetrically. That is to say, shipping that we want from friendly Arab countries to provide oil to our allies, primarily, not so much to our own country, is basically cut off. On the other hand, tankers that are going to countries friendlier with Iran that they approve of, such as Pakistan and I guess India and particularly China, in their case, they're allowed to pass. So now we have a situation where we have air dominance over the area. We have naval dominance outside of the Gulf of Hormuz, Strait of Hormuz. If you go further out into the Arabian Sea, but unfortunately, they have free passage and free use. On the other hand, a lot of ayatollahs and other figures are dead, and we don't know the state of the new ayatollah that's supposedly in charge. It'd be ironic if they picked a dead ayatollah as being the new leader, so that he couldn't be killed because he's already. I'm just joking, but at any rate, and there's all these speculations about exactly what his physical condition is, but he hasn't been seen in public, maybe for good reason. He doesn't want to join the rest of them, and at any rate. So he's orders are being issued in his name, either by him or with somebody in his name. And apparently other major leadership figures don't appear in public unless there's a large crowd of civilians around them. So they finally learned the technique I thought would be used a lot was to be hiding behind the innocents, which apparently they're doing. So where do we go from here? Well, Trump has called on the strangest one of all. He called on China to send naval forces to China. I mean, China's getting their oil. They have no interest in doing that at all. They want to see us twist and spin. There's no doubt about it. And as far as, Russia, apparently this has been the best thing that happened to them in a long time. And that is it turns out that they're doing pretty good on the whole issue of selling oil at higher prices now, and I think systematically the boycott will probably erode unless shipment, because people need the oil, and if they can't get it anywhere else, Ukraine, well, sorry Ukraine, they eventually have to look out for themselves, I think, and so and then anything also, China has to see that obviously we could easily shut off the oil just by blowing up Kharg Island. So they need to think about if they ever get in a conflict with us, where they get their oil, and of course that would be Russia. So I suspect that they're going to be a little more amenable to Russian interest going forward here. Meanwhile, there are other things going on in the Ukraine war, of course. A key military plant was hit by a Flamingo missile. So, and there've been a lot of drone activity from the Ukrainians lately too. But not get sidetracked in that too much. So the question is, where do we go going forward? Well, I have an idea, but it's a very dangerous idea. And that is, instead of destroying Kharg Island's facilities, what if we were able to capture them? If you like these videos, well, stay tuned to the final part here. You can follow me. Subscribe, give the like and follow, and and so forth. Or I also post this on Rumble as always. So whichever. Here's my thought. And this, we know we did a couple of days ago. We did some pretty heavy airstrikes against the IRGC forces on Kharg Island while not hitting the oil facilities. These are precision strikes, and and of course, there is some discussion about a marine amphibious group that's coming forward with the Ticonderoga, but that's going to take some time to get there. And the question is, how does it get through the Strait of Hormuz intact to launch an attack? And obviously, any element of surprise would be lost at that point. So my thinking is that, and this depends on something that's very, very difficult. And if it works right, it could be brilliant. If it goes wrong, it could be a disaster. So I understand that. But here's the deal: if we could somehow get an elite forces, Delta Force and uh, Rangers or Marines or whatever, onto that island intact, and basically overwhelm the IRGC forces there and capture the island intact. It's a tricky one, but could it be done? In that case, we'd have the advantage that we could now shut off the oil that's going to these various countries that are favorable to Iran without actually permanently damaging the equipment there. And therefore, we would have the advantage that we would have real negotiating leverage to say, hey, if either quit attacking ships and let open the strait on your side, or we don't let your stuff out either, which would be a great economic damage to them. But the nice thing about this approach is it's also reversible. And that would put us into a negotiating position where I think we could get some kind of an outcome that would be favorable. Because the other aspects for diplomacy are not so good. These guys have tremendously increased their demands on a level that it would be a complete humiliating defeat for the United States if we agreed to those terms, such as pulling all of our military forces out of the Persian Gulf and paying reparations and so on and so forth. And obviously, this would be a disaster. We'd be far worse off than if we'd done nothing, which, by the way, in my video on the edge of war, I was kind of suggesting that might be the best approach and rely on nuclear deterrence to deal with any capability they were building in the nuclear area. But, woulda, coulda, shoulda, it's over now. We're committed. So the question is, if we could take that island and use it as negotiating leverage, then we would have a position where we might come out of this at least somewhat intact. Now, I understand that the Russians are offering to take delivery of the 60% enriched uranium-236, 235, and deal with it. And of course, we've tentatively rejected that. But to me, that is also kind of a face-saving way out, maybe for the Iranians. Look at it this way. I mean, I think an additional term would have to be that U.S. experts would have to be in Russia to witness the arrival of this and verify the amount and the technical details, so that we're sure that we're not being tricked, of course. Because I don't know if there's any practical way we can actually go in and get the uranium out, or what else you're going to do. I mean, disperse the stuff. I mean, I don't know. Again, can an elite team get in there and do that? And would that not be more dangerous than the attack on Kharg Island I'm proposing? I mean, that would be deep inside of one of the more secure areas in the Ukrainian, in the Iranian interior, and the whole area could be rigged for demolition or something. It may be, in other words, we might send an elite team in there only to have the whole place blow up and bury them. This sort of thing is quite possible. And so I think the better thing would be that. Now, the trick is, what degree of the defenses on Kharg Island been suppressed? How many IRGC troops and of what quality are there? And so forth. If it's small enough of a group, if they've been degraded greatly enough, and if we can somehow get there without getting our method of entry destroyed, I mean, one thought has crossed my mind. There is a runway there, which it looked like only one bomb had dropped on one end of it, which is interesting. We didn't totally obliterate it, but maybe it's being preserved so that a C-130 could do a kind of a tactical assault on there, and then the first wave of the elite team would then pile out the C-130s, shades of the Entebbe raid back in 77 or 6, something like that, 76, I think it was, and that would be an approach. The other idea that's been proposed is a helicopter assault. It would have to come from land, and maybe there could be some significant distraction with what this Marine group is doing to distract the Iranians from the actual playing. I don't know. These are very interesting issues, but other than that, I mean, the destruction of the facility would only probably lead to them actually mining the straits, and we would have a fiasco. And of course, getting in there with minesweeping craft and so forth to open it, and you're dealing with short-range missiles and artillery. I mean, and meanwhile, a lot of damage is still being done to friendly countries in the area, the oil facilities. I mean, this is not um, this is not a good situation for us at all. And so, uh, I've had warned earlier. I think that that after the success in Venezuela, that maybe we were getting a little too full of ourselves, and I think this has kind of happened here. And now we have to see how we can get out of this and without totally being humiliated. Because if that were to happen, this would be a disaster for the entire Western world, and probably would lead ultimately to some other bad consequences. So anyhow, meanwhile, I guess the Israelis have mobilized significant reserves and are now attacking north into Lebanon to push the Hezbollah forces backwards. So this could be a really high-cost battle for them too, because the Hezbollah is trained and developed quite a bit over the years from what they used to face. I mean, in 1982, Israel went all the way to the outskirts of Beirut, if you'll recall, the history of that. So, 44, almost 40, well, 43 and a half years ago now. So, anyhow, so that's kind of the state of the situation and the best idea I got. I mean, I do think that Trump would make his own presentation look a little better if he would quit just talking off the cuff, saying random things that are going to be met by people and with a degree of disbelief. I mean, he did try something bold that nobody else did, and now he probably knows why somebody else like Bush didn't do it, for instance. But anyhow, so I'll be wrapping this one up for now, as always, I'll be posting this on YouTube and Rumble, and the address of my social media accounts are in the description below. So good luck, everybody. I think we have a problem right now.